The quantum sensors aboard the Lunar Defense Station Beta weren't supposed to detect anything unusual during the graveyard shift. Dr. Sarah Chen had settled into her usual routine of checking anomaly reports while sipping her third cup of synthetic coffee when the alarm shattered the pre-dawn silence. The quantum interference patterns on her holographic display were unlike anything recorded in the station's database. "Control, this is Chen. We're picking up some serious quantum distortions at the edge of the Kuiper belt," she reported, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. "Pattern suggests it's artificial. Whatever it is, it's big." Admiral Helena Santos was awakened from her quarters within minutes. The tough Brazilian veteran had overseen the construction of Earth's defensive network over the past decade. But this was the moment she had both anticipated and dreaded. First contact. The object emerged from what appeared to be a localized distortion in space-time, its surface rippling with patterns of bioluminescence that pulsed in regular intervals. It was massive, nearly 3 kilometers in length, and its organic-looking design defied conventional engineering principles. But what caught everyone's attention was the state it was in. Massive portions of its hull were simply missing, as if carved away by some impossible force. Before anyone could process this revelation, 5 more ruptures appeared in space behind it. The new arrivals were smaller but pristine, their hulls gleaming with a material that seemed to drain the light from their surroundings. They moved with predatory grace, pursuing the damaged vessel with single-minded determination. "All stations, this is Admiral Santos. First Contact Protocol Echo 7 is now in effect. I want every defense platform online and our rapid response fleet mobilized. Whatever's happening up there, we're not going to let it spill over into Earth's orbital space." The damaged vessel's desperate transmission reached every communication system on Earth simultaneously, bypassing encryption and language barriers through pure mathematics. The message resolved itself into a 3-dimensional hologram in command centers worldwide, a being of crystalline appearance, its form constantly shifting between states of matter. "People of Sol." The translation matrix rendered its thoughts in every human language simultaneously. "I am Navigator Zilax of the Collective. We carry the last seeds of 1,000 dying worlds, pursued by those who would see all independent life extinguished. Our power is nearly depleted. Our shields fail. We beg sanctuary." The pursuing vessels didn't bother with diplomacy. Their message was simpler. "The Collective dies today. Interfere, and your world burns." Admiral Santos didn't hesitate. In the decades since humanity had achieved quantum communication and antimatter drive technology, they had prepared extensively for first contact scenarios. But they hadn't prepared for peaceful contact or hostile contact. They had prepared for every possibility simultaneously. "This is Admiral Helena Santos of the Earth Defense Force. To the pursuing vessels, you have entered sovereign Sol space without authorization and threatened violence against our world. You have exactly 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will respond with lethal force." The response was predictable. The dark ships accelerated, weapons charging. What wasn't predictable was Earth's response. From their hiding places in the asteroid belt, hundreds of stealth platforms activated simultaneously. The quantum sensor network that had detected the initial arrival had been tracking the pursuers' every movement, mapping their shield frequencies and weapon signatures. When the first salvo came, it wasn't the expected frontal assault. Instead, thousands of microdrones, each barely larger than a coffee cup, swarmed from the stealth platforms. They carried no weapons. They didn't need to. Each one was programmed with a single purpose: to match the dark ship's shield frequencies and slip through, carrying their payload of antimatter. The result was devastating. 3 of the pursuing ships simply ceased to exist as the antimatter reactions ignited within their shields. The remaining 2 broke off their attack, clearly shocked by the effectiveness of what they had dismissed as a primitive species defenses. "This was your warning shot," Santos transmitted. "The next one won't be a warning. Power down now." As the remaining pursuers retreated through their spatial ruptures, Navigator Xilax's hologram appeared again, its crystalline form radiating what the translation matrix interpreted as a mixture of awe and relief. Never, it communicated, in all our centuries of flight, has any species intervened on our behalf with such efficiency. Perhaps we have finally found what we have searched for across 1,000 light years, not just sanctuary, but hope. Admiral Santos allowed herself a small smile. Navigator Xilax, on behalf of Earth, I welcome you to Sol Space. Let's get your ship to the lunar shipyards for repairs. And then, I believe we have much to discuss about these pursuers of yours. The quantum sensors continued their vigilant watch as Earth's defense fleet escorted the massive collective vessel to safety. In command centers across the planet, military leaders and politicians began to gather. Humanity's first day as a player on the galactic stage had begun with an act of defiance against overwhelming odds. It would not be the last. The lunar shipyards had never seen anything like the collective vessel. Its bioorganic hull seemed to breathe as repair drones swarmed around it, their quantum scanners struggling to make sense of its impossible architecture. Dr. Chen had barely slept in the 3 days since first contact, her eyes red-rimmed as she studied the readings from her workstation in the newly established xenobiology lab. The entire ship is alive, she announced to the assembled team of scientists and military personnel. Not just alive, it's evolving. Every repair we make, the hull tissue learns from it, adapting our technology and incorporating it into its cellular structure. Navigator Xilax's crystalline form shimmered in agreement. The seeds we carry are not merely plant specimens or genetic samples. They are the combined consciousness of 1,000 species, encoded into living data. Our vessel is their temporary home, designed to evolve and protect them. Admiral Santos leaned forward, her hologram flickering slightly due to the quantum interference from the collective ship. And these pursuers, the ones you call the harvesters, they want to destroy these seeds. Why? The navigator's form darkened, crystals turning opaque. They do not seek mere destruction. They consume. Every civilization they encounter, they break down to its constituent parts: technology, biology, knowledge. They believe this is the path to perfection, the absorption of all other life into their collective. The briefing was interrupted by urgent alerts from the quantum sensor network. Dr. Chen's hands flew across her interface, eyes widening. Multiple spatial ruptures detected. Massive energy signatures. Admiral, it's an invasion fleet. The harvesters had returned, but this time they hadn't brought 5 ships. Hundreds of their dark vessels emerged from spatial tiers across the solar system, their hull designs varying wildly, evidence of the civilizations they had consumed and incorporated into their own. Admiral Santos' response was immediate. Execute Operation Safe Haven. All civilian vessels are to evacuate to designated underground shelters. Defense Fleet, assume formation Hydra. Earth's response to the invasion was unlike anything the harvesters had encountered in their long history of conquest. Instead of meeting them in direct combat, humanity's fleet scattered into seemingly random patterns. Quantum communication buoys activated throughout the solar system, creating a complex web of instant information transfer. The harvester fleet pressed forward, confident in their superior numbers and technology. Their first wave approached Mars orbit, weapons charged, and found nothing. The human vessels they had been pursuing were holographic decoys, while the real ships had used the planet's magnetic field for cover. From the hidden command center beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Santos watched the battle unfold. Initialize Project Prometheus. Throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of seemingly innocent mining platforms suddenly revealed their true purpose. Each one contained a quantum entanglement device, carefully positioned over the past decade. As they activated simultaneously, they created a complex network of localized space-time distortions. The effect was devastating. Harvester ships found their carefully plotted courses disrupted, their formations broken. Some vessels were trapped in temporal eddies, Others were forced into collision courses with their allies. Earth's fleet struck from multiple vectors, their smaller ships demonstrating maneuverability that the larger harvester vessels couldn't match. Navigator Zillax watched in amazement as the battle unfolded. Your species, you built all of this without knowing we existed, without knowing the threat was real. Dr. Chen smiled grimly. We spent centuries fighting ourselves. When we looked to the stars, we didn't just hope for peaceful contact. We prepared for everything. Every weapon we developed, every defense we built, was designed to counter how we ourselves would fight. And humans, we fight dirty. The truth of her words was demonstrated as the next phase of Earth's defense revealed itself. Quantum-linked drones swarmed from hidden bases on Mars and its moons, each one carrying a payload of specialized nanites. As they breached the harvester shields, using frequencies gathered from the first encounter, the nanites went to work. The harvesters had built their ships to be immune to conventional weapons, but they had never encountered anything like this. The nanites spread through their vessels like a virus, rewriting command protocols and turning their own automated systems against them. Ships began firing on their allies, their crews unable to regain control. From the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Santos opened a channel to the entire harvester fleet. This is your final warning. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to demonstrate the full extent of our defensive capabilities. And believe me, you haven't seen anything yet. The harvester response was unexpected. For the first time in their history of conquest, they retreated. Not just a tactical withdrawal. Their entire fleet began generating spatial ruptures, fleeing the solar system as quickly as they had arrived. As the last enemy ship disappeared, Navigator Zillax's crystalline form blazed with colors that the translation matrix interpreted as hope, awe, and something close to joy. In all our flights, all our battles, we have never seen them retreat. Never. You didn't just drive them back. You made them fear. Admiral Santos' expression remained stern. They'll be back. And next time, they'll be ready for what we showed them today. Then we will be ready for them as well, Dr. Chen interjected, her eyes still fixed on her readings. The collective vessel's hull has already adapted some of our quantum technology. Imagine what we could accomplish together, combining your biological engineering with our defensive innovations. For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Santos allowed herself a small smile. Navigator Zillax, I believe this is the beginning of a very interesting partnership. Above them, through the quantum-reinforced windows of the command center, Earth shone blue and peaceful in the black of space. For now, it remains safe, protected not just by technology or weapons, but by humanity's greatest strength, the ability to imagine every possible threat and prepare for them all. 2 months after the first harvester retreat, Earth had transformed. The collected vessel, now fully repaired and enhanced with human quantum technology, hung in geosynchronous orbit like a second moon, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with a steady rhythm that had become a familiar sight to Earth's inhabitants. But beneath the apparent calm, humanity was preparing for war. Deep within the Himalayan Quantum Research Facility, Dr. Chen stood before a holographic display that filled an entire chamber. The image showed the combined data from the collective's vast archive and Earth's quantum sensor network, mapping known harvester activities across thousands of light years. They're not just retreating, she explained to the assembled military leadership. They're gathering. Every consumed civilization's fleet, every stolen technology, all converging at these coordinates. Her gesture highlighted a massive cloud of spatial distortions at the edge of mapped space. Admiral Santos studied the display with narrowed eyes. How many ships? Conservative estimate. Over 10,000 vessels. Dr. Chen's voice was grim. They're not just coming back for the collective seeds now. They've identified us as a serious threat, one they can't allow to develop further. Navigator Zillax's crystalline form pulsed with dark colors. In all our history, they have never committed such forces to a single target. They fear what you might become. Good. Admiral Santos's smile was razor-sharp. Fear makes them predictable. And we've been busy while they've been gathering their forces. She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show Sol's system. Operation Hydra was just the beginning. Dr. Chen, show them Project Lazarus. The display zoomed in on Mars, where massive construction projects had been underway since the first battle. What appeared to be normal defense platforms and mining operations were anything but. Dr. Chen's fingers danced across the quantum interface, revealing their true nature. We've combined collective bioorganic technology with our quantum engineering, she explained. These aren't just defensive platforms. They're seeds themselves. When destroyed, they don't just explode. They multiply. The demonstration was impressive. A simulated harvester attack on one platform resulted in its apparent destruction, only for the debris to spawn dozens of smaller, fully autonomous combat units, each one carrying the same reproductive capability. The more they destroy, the more they'll have to fight, Admiral Santos continued. But that's just the surface layer. Commander Patel briefed them on the Quantum Ghost Protocol. A hologram of the Indian tactical commander appeared, his expression serious. We've transformed the entire asteroid belt into a quantum entanglement maze. Any ship entering without our navigation codes will experience random spatial jumps. Their fleet formation will be chaos before they reach Mars orbit. But humanity's preparations went beyond mere defensive innovations. The holographic display shifted again, showing something that made even Navigator Zilax's crystalline form flicker with surprise. We call it the Solar Forge, Dr. Chen said proudly. We've constructed a partial Dyson swarm around the sun, but not for energy collection. Each satellite is a quantum-linked solar lens. Together, they can focus the sun's energy into weapons we can target anywhere in the system. The briefing continued for hours, each revelation more impressive than the last. Humanity had taken their greatest fears of alien invasion and turned them into preparation. Every science fiction scenario, every military theorist's nightmare, had been considered and countered. But our greatest weapon, Admiral Santos concluded, isn't technology. It's imagination. The harvesters have spent millennia absorbing civilizations that think like them. Logical, predictable, fighting force with force. They've never faced an enemy that thinks in stories. As if to punctuate her words, the quantum sensor network lit up with alerts. The harvester fleet had begun its approach, their spatial ruptures tearing open the fabric of space at the system's edge. They're earlier than we expected, Dr. Chen noted, her fingers already dancing across control surfaces, initializing defense systems. No. Admiral Santos's voice was firm. They're exactly when we expected. Because we leaked the completion dates for our defensive projects through channels we knew they were monitoring. We've chosen the battlefield, the timing, and the terms of engagement. Now we show them why that was a mistake. The harvester fleet emerged from their spatial ruptures in perfect formation, their ships now showing clear signs of adaptation from their previous encounter. Their hulls rippled with counter-nanite defenses, and their shields operated on randomly shifting frequencies. But humanity had expected this. As the invasion force pressed forward, they found their quantum communications jammed by emissions from the collective vessel. Without faster-than-light communication, they were forced to rely on light-speed signals, introducing crucial delays in their coordination. Admiral Santos watched from the Lunar Command Center as the greatest space battle in human history began. All units, execute Operation Thanatos. Show them what humanity does to those who threaten our home. The defense of Earth was about to demonstrate why humans had spent centuries imagining alien invasions. Because in all those stories, against all odds, humanity found a way to win. Now it was time to turn imagination into reality. The first wave of the harvester fleet hit the asteroid belt like a tsunami hitting a reef. Ships vanished and reappeared randomly as the quantum entanglement maze took effect, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. But the harvesters had anticipated resistance. They simply hadn't anticipated its scale. From her command post on the lunar base, Admiral Santos watched as the enemy adapted with frightening speed. The harvester ships began linking together, forming massive clusters that could maintain position even within the quantum distortion field. They were learning, evolving their tactics in real time. "All according to plan," she muttered, then opened a channel to the combined Earth fleet. "Execute Phase 2. Show them why we let them adapt." The quantum maze suddenly shifted its parameters, its effect reversing. Instead of scattering the linked harvester ships, it began pulling them together. Massive clusters of enemy vessels found themselves compressed into tight formations, perfect targets for what came next. "Solder Forge platforms, you have your targets." Commander Patel's voice was cold and precise. "Fire at will." The partial Dyson swarm lit up like a new constellation as hundreds of solar satellites focused the sun's energy through quantum-linked lenses. Beams of concentrated solar plasma struck the compressed harvester formations. Even their advanced shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, couldn't cope with the raw power of a star used as a weapon. But the harvesters hadn't become the galaxy's apex predators by being easily defeated. As their front lines burned, their rear echelons launched a new weapon. Massive spheres of dark energy that began consuming everything in their path, including the quantum distortion field itself. They're using absorbed technology from the Merrick confluence. Navigator Zillax's crystalline form pulsed with recognition. "Their void spheres will devour your defenses." Dr. Chen's hands flew across her control surfaces, initiating Project Lazarus. "All platforms in the void sphere's path, prepare for controlled destruction." The defense platforms in the path of the dark energy weapons didn't try to escape. Instead, they exploded in precisely calculated detonations. Each explosion scattered thousands of microscopic seeds, bioorganic machines that immediately began reproducing, using the energy of the void spheres themselves as fuel. "Fight entropy with entropy," Dr. Chen explained, a fierce grin on her face. "The void spheres are perfect entropy engines, but that means they'll consume anything, including our self-replicating units, and those units are programmed to replicate faster than they can be consumed." The void spheres began to flicker and destabilize as they were overwhelmed by exponentially multiplying swarms of microscopic machines. But this was just one front in an increasingly complex battle. The harvesters launched waves of fighters unlike anything humanity had encountered, biomechanical units that could reconfigure themselves mid-flight. Earth's response came from an unexpected quarter. Chinese quantum superiority fighters, merged with collective bioorganic technology, met the harvester units in the space around Mars. What followed wasn't just combat, it was evolution in real time. Both sides adapted and changed with each engagement, a deadly dance of technological one-upmanship. In near-Earth orbit, Russian space stations revealed their true nature, massive electromagnetic pulse generators that targeted harvester command ships with precisely tuned quantum interference patterns. European and African quantum hacking arrays probed enemy defenses, turning captured ships against their former masters. The combined forces of South America and India deployed what appeared to be a retreat, drawing harvester forces into prepared kill zones where American and Australian quantum mines waited. The coordination between Earth's nations, once thought impossible, had become their greatest strength. But the harvesters still had one card left to play. At the heart of their fleet, a massive vessel began to emerge, different from all the others. Its surface was a patchwork of technologies from countless civilizations, all merged into something new and terrifying. "That's their world ender." Navigator Zillax's voice carried something close to panic. The combined knowledge of every civilization they've consumed, weaponized into a single form. No single world has ever survived its deployment. Admiral Santos' expression remained unchanged. "Good thing we're not fighting alone then." She opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is what we prepared for." Dr. Chen, initialize the collective interface protocol. Show them what happens when humanity and the collective truly work together. The massive collective vessel in Earth orbit began to pulse with new patterns of bioluminescence. The quantum technology humanity had helped integrate into its living hull activated, creating a field that extended throughout the solar system. Every human ship, every defense platform, every fighter and drone suddenly found itself connected not just by quantum communications, but by the combined consciousness of 1,000 civilizations preserved within the collective's seed banks. Two can play at the game of combined knowledge, Dr. Chen said softly. But while they consumed their knowledge by force, we're sharing ours freely. That makes all the difference. The battle was about to enter its final phase, and humanity was about to demonstrate why sharing strength was better than stealing it. The world ender's approach turned space itself dark, its hull absorbing light and energy as it moved toward Earth. Behind it, the remaining harvester fleet formed a protective screen, their ships moving with the precision of a single organism. But humanity and the collective were ready. In the Lunar Command Center, Dr. Chen's quantum interface had transformed. Through the collective interface protocol, she wasn't just seeing data, she was experiencing it. The combined knowledge of 1,000 civilizations flowed through her consciousness, each one contributing its understanding of the harvester's weaknesses. "They're not invincible," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of accumulated wisdom. "They're afraid. The world ender isn't just a weapon, it's their backup plan. Every piece of stolen technology, every absorbed consciousness, archived in case they face defeat." Admiral Santos nodded grimly. "Then we make them face it. All units, execute final protocol. Show them why humanity doesn't just plan for victory. We plan for absolute victory." The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia across the galaxy. The world ender launched its first attack, a wave of energy that began unraveling the quantum structure of space itself. But instead of trying to resist it, Earth's defense grid adapted in a way the harvesters had never encountered. The quantum entanglement maze that had protected the asteroid belt suddenly inverted its effect. Instead of causing spatial disruption, it began creating zones of hyperstability, bubbles of space where physics itself became immutable. The world ender's reality warping weapons splashed harmlessly against these zones, unable to alter what had been made fundamentally unchangeable. "Impossible." Navigator Zilax's crystalline form pulsed with astonishment. "You've weaponized physics itself." "No," Dr. Chen corrected, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that now seemed to anticipate her commands. "We've remembered what the harvesters forgot, that the universe has rules, and working with them is better than trying to break them." The combined human collective consciousness through the interface protocol revealed the true nature of the world ender. It wasn't just a repository of stolen technology. It was a prison for the remnants of consciousness from every civilization the harvesters had consumed. And those consciousnesses had not been truly absorbed. They had been waiting. Admiral Santos' next order demonstrated why humans had survived countless wars against themselves. Quantum communications broadcast the liberation signal. Let's show them what happens when you try to imprison minds. Through the quantum network, enhanced by the collective's bioorganic technology, Earth broadcast a simple message, not to the harvesters, but to their prisoners. The signal, carried on frequencies the collective had discovered and humanity had weaponized, reached into the world ender's memory banks and did something the harvesters had thought impossible. It gave the absorbed consciousnesses a choice. The result was catastrophic for the harvesters. The world ender began to tear itself apart from within as thousands of imprisoned minds rebelled simultaneously. Ships throughout the harvester fleet began to malfunction as stolen technologies turned against their captors. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable became their greatest weakness as chaos spread through their neural networks. "All Earth forces, attack pattern Omega," Admiral Santos commanded. "End this." The combined fleet struck from all directions, their weapons enhanced by the knowledge flowing through the collective interface protocol. Solar forge beams cut through suddenly vulnerable shields. Quantum warheads detonated with perfect precision, their effects multiplied by the liberated technologies within the Harvester fleet. The Chinese quantum superiority fighters, now guided by the combined tactical knowledge of 1,000 civilizations, danced through the enemy formations with impossible grace. The world ender, its internal systems in chaos as countless imprisoned minds fought for freedom, tried one final desperate attack. It began a sequence that would detonate its core, releasing enough energy to destroy the entire solar system. But humanity had prepared even for this. Dr. Chen, her consciousness still merged with the interface protocol, saw the solution in the combined knowledge of the collective. All quantum platforms, synchronized with my signal, we're going to show them a trick they've never seen. The quantum entanglement network that spanned the solar system activated at once, creating a bubble of space-time around the world ender. As the massive vessel began its self-destruct sequence, it found itself trapped in a time dilation field. What would have been an instant of devastating destruction became stretched into hours, giving the combined fleet time to act. The end, when it came, was both spectacular and precise. Hundreds of liberated minds fled the world ender through quantum channels established by Earth's scientists. The massive vessel, its consciousness networks in chaos, and its power core contained within the time dilation field, collapsed in on itself. The remaining Harvester fleet, their stolen technologies turned against them, and their neural networks shattered, began to retreat in disarray. Admiral Santos opened a channel to the fleeing enemy ships. Let this be a lesson. Earth is not just protected by weapons or technology. We're protected by something you can never steal or absorb: human ingenuity, and the strength that comes from true cooperation. In the aftermath, as the solar system began to calm and damage reports flowed in, Navigator Zilax approached the Earth leadership with a proposition. The seeds we carry, it said, its crystalline form glowing with new possibilities, they were meant to rebuild worlds destroyed by the Harvesters. But perhaps with humanity's help, we can do more than rebuild. Perhaps we can create something new, a civilization that combines the best of all our peoples. Dr. Chen, finally disconnected from the interface protocol, but forever changed by the experience, smiled. That's what humans do best. We take different ideas, different peoples, different technologies, and we find ways to make them work together. And now we can do it on a galactic scale. Admiral Santos looked out at the Earth, still beautiful and blue despite the battle that had raged around it. The Harvesters thought they could absorb all of civilization into themselves. Instead, they united it against them. And now, she turned to face the assembled leaders of Earth and the collective. Now we show the galaxy what true unity looks like. As cleanup operations began and reconstruction ships moved through space, the quantum sensors detected something remarkable. Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations that had hidden from the Harvesters were emerging. Drawn by news of their defeat, humanity had not just defended Earth, they had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The legacy of Sol would not be one of conquest or absorption, but of cooperation and innovation. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not by dominating other civilizations, but by helping them fight back against domination. It was the beginning of a new era in galactic history, and humanity was ready to help write it.